Ladies and gentlemen, we dropped a video yesterday debunking Abe's statement, the original statement that he would have made 1 or 2 days after Jay's disappearance. That statement was sent to a friend. Now, there was something that was said in this audio by the lady leading up to Abe's statement, and if true, it proves another lie. Now, let's start with this. What you can see on the screen is a screenshot. This is a screenshot from the Sun report. What it says here, the messages from Abe Qasim, who took Jay back to his Airbnb, seen by the Sun, show that Jay had complained to him about losing his key on the night out. A new theory suggests that he had lost his key to his room, leading to him looking for a new place to stay after his pals went home early. Now, make that make sense, because they're actually saying they, the Sun, saw the messages from Abe claiming that Jay had lost his key. However, why did Abe, in his original statement that he sent to his friends that we listened to yesterday, claim that Jay's mate stood up and asked for the key because he wanted to go back to the apartment? That mate has to be Brad, because that's the same story that Brad's mum gave as well. Okay, so here's the original audio for the debunked Abe statement. Now, this is extremely interesting. I need you guys to listen carefully.
I've got another video of Jay as well, drinking out of a champagne bottle. Apparently, he was off his face on ketamine. So there's a lot of theories.
So she's claiming she's got a video of Jay drinking out of a champagne bottle and he was on ketamine as well.
He's out there that like something really dark has happened. Some gangland shit has happened at this villa. Jay first went missing. I had actually just come back from Tenerife. I took my son to Tenerife for May half term, which was actually at the beginning of June. So I think that's why I was so invested or so interested in the case when I first heard it, on the news. So I actually contacted a guy who I know who happens to live out in Tenerife, just a guy that I know.
Take note of that. A guy that happens to live out in Tenerife.
Vaguely through a friend of a friend. His name's Ayub, and I contacted him to ask about it. And
wow. So she's claiming that Ayub, however you want to pronounce his name, but she's claiming that he lives in Tenerife. So if he lives in Tenerife, why did he need to hire an Airbnb in the mountains?
Just to be like, wow, like, have you heard about this case in Tenerife? Like, what's going on? And to my absolute shock, Ayub told me that he was one of the 2 British men whose villa Jay had left that morning.
Villa. Did you see the state of that place? Villa,
The people at the centre of this whole entire thing. At this point, they hadn't been exposed at all in the papers. I had no idea that my friend was, or this person that I knew was connected.
They hadn't been exposed at all in the papers. So they hadn't exposed Abe in the papers at this point. So we can only assume this is before Mark Thomas got himself involved.
It's this in any way, shape or form. The media didn't know who they were at this point either. So I'm now going to play you the voice notes that Abe sent me.
Okay, we've heard the voice notes already. You got to think, if something serious has happened, something that can actually put you away for the rest of your life, you ain't going to be telling anyone about it, regardless of how cool that person is. You're not going to be telling them about it. You're going to give them the narrative and the story that you painted for the cover up. It doesn't make any sense to do it any other way. What really jumped out to me and what that lady actually said is a guy that I know who lives in Tenerife. Now, guys, if Abe lives in Tenerife, there's no need for him to be renting out an Airbnb for 1 or 2 nights for him, Rocky, and Jay Slater. In one of Abe's lives, he claims that nobody knows what happened the night before, referring to like girls being taken up there. But to be quite fair, I don't think you're going to be getting any girls to that Airbnb. There was even a later live that he done and said that he didn't take girls to that Airbnb. So what was the Airbnb booked for? That far in the mountains. Looking at Jay in the footage the night he went missing, he looks absolutely out of his face. And I'm starting to think he was spiked. I'm starting to think he was intentionally spiked to put him in a position where he was going to literally be unconscious. There is no evidence to say that Jay left the NRG festival. There's no evidence of Jay outside of the NRG festival. All the footage that we see of Jay is from that festival. Outside of it, we don't know. There's no pictures of Jay walking down the road. There's no pictures of Jay getting into a car, getting out of a car. There's no pictures of Jay stopping off at a shop. That is an area that is flooded with CCTV. I can't understand why there's not one image of Jay Slater being seen after that NRG festival. Even in Mascar, there is no proof that Jay ever went to Mascar. Everything that we see of Jay in Mascar seems to be fabricated. from the red blanket, even to the phone screenshots. With Ayub living in that area, who's to say that someone didn't drive up there with Ayub, keep driving, and then plant Jay's phone somewhere, get the location of the screenshot, pick the phone up, and then go back to wherever they came from? There's no solid confirmation that the phone was found. We've got one report suggesting that the phone was found a few weeks ago, but then nothing's come since then. And then we've got another person claiming that the phone was found and it was wiped. At this moment in time, I don't think any authority found the phone. I think someone had the phone, kept the phone, made it look like the location of that phone was there, but it was never there. Just the location screenshot was there because they needed that to make it look like Jay was there. Because foul play clearly happened when Jay left the NRG festival. It doesn't make sense why Jay asked Ayub to travel to his Airbnb with him. It doesn't make sense for the simple fact that Jay had credit, Jay had battery on his phone, Jay was 5 minutes away from his hotel. Why would he want to go to Ayub's Airbnb? It only indicates that there was a problem with one of the friends. That could have been the only problem. Jay had a problem with one of the friends. Whether it was Brad, whether it was Brandon, whether it was Lucy, there was something going on amongst that group, and it made Jay feel uncomfortable to the point where he didn't want to go back to that hotel. He would rather go back to the Airbnb with Ayub. But if that is the case, Brad, Lucy, or Brandon, who hasn't actually made a statement, haven't said there was a problem. They just said Jay had other ideas and he wanted to go with these guys, so we let him go. Harsh Reality dropped a video yesterday. Let's quickly switch over and listen to what he had to say.
We also have a situation that when he's embarked on this walk, there is 2 phone calls. One of these phone calls is to Lucy. And when you factor in what sort of time, this is around 8:30 in the morning that, you know, Lucy is apparently having a conversation with Jay. And I want somebody to try and make this make sense to me. They're trying to say that he was under no duress. We've heard nothing to say that, you know, he was, unless you listen to Mark Williams Thomas, he was scared and armed. But let's put that aside for a second, because that's not important. What is important is that Jay has made this decision to walk. And that walk is going to take 11 hours. That's how long it's going to take. Now, he thinks he may be able to take a shortcut. Again, that's what we're being told, that he may be able to cut that down.
And even if he thinks he can take a shortcut, how many hours out of the 11 are you looking to cut down? It's still going to be a very, very long walk.
But make no bones about it, that's an 11-hour walk.
Exactly.
As per looking at the map, looking at where you are, looking at where you're going.
Exactly.
So he then apparently has a conversation with Lucy. And after that conversation, I'm not going to go into what they discuss, the bitten by a cactus that makes no fucking sense and opens up another can of worms.
And there's one part in there where Lucy starts to get all serious saying, Jay, if there's any time that you need to listen to me, it's now. Like it's some sort of life or death matter. Like the way she's talking, it was like it was some sort of life or death matter. It made no sense.
The point being that he is, during this call, he is on a walk, a planned walk to walk from where he was to where he wants to go, back to Los Cristianos, back to his friends and what have you. But what happens after that is Lucy goes to law enforcement, apparently, and reports him missing.
Exactly. Make that make sense. So you speak to your friend. Your friend says, oh, I'm lying in a ditch. This is where I am. Brad's got my location. You've got my location. But what then she decides to do is go to the feds and say, actually, my friend's missing. Not even my friend's lost and he doesn't know where he actually is. We've got his location here. Can we go and get him together? No, you file a missing persons report. Now, what would make someone file a missing persons report within 15 minutes of speaking to their friend on the phone? Who would do such a thing? It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's the moment that F this whole story for all of them, as well as all of the other things that followed after, all of the holes that were left in the stories and the narrative thereafter, and all the patching and covering up they've had to do. Like say it's some sort of DIY job. The only person that would make a missing persons report after 15 minutes of allegedly speaking to a friend is a person that has been told the truth about what's happened to their friend. And then it's like, oh my God, how do we get ourselves out of this without incriminating ourselves or without ourselves being looked at as the main suspects? How do we do this? Okay, what we'll say is he's missing. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll say he's missing. And that's the best way. That is the best way for you to then aim to cover up any wrongdoing that you or your friends have done or people you know have done. From the start, Lucy tried to avoid mentioning Abe. She claimed that they were strangers until Abe claimed that they were friends. So from the jump, it looks like Lucy was trying to distance herself from what actually happened to Jay, so she looked like the innocent one. And by calling the police, it kind of backs up her innocence. We've heard the various different statements that Lucy has given. It's all about not knowing what happened and blaming Jay for everything that happened.
Reports him missing. And I'm thinking to myself, but he's not missing.
Exactly.
He's not missing. He's walking back to you.
Exactly.
He's
11-hour walk.
He's
So why would you report him missing?
embarking on a walk. Now, if you're of a mindset that he's your friend, he's gone and hung about with these guys up at this Airbnb that you clearly know where it is because you go there, you get there, you see them, you've seen.
Exactly. You went there. How did you get there? Oh, I found the Airbnb from a picture that Jay put on his Snapchat, but I couldn't actually go to Jay's ping screenshot location and pick him up.
In your, in your report to media, that Rocky and Bullwinkle were kind of shocked. They were stunned when you turned up. They looked shocked. They looked stunned, like rabbit in headlights. So you knew where he was. You know where he'd come from. You must have had that conversation, or someone had that conversation, relayed that information back. But you knew where Jay was walking from, and you knew where he was walking to, and you knew how long it was going to take. Now, again, point being, if you're his friend, you would say to him, "You ain't walking, Jay. You ain't walking. You're stupid. You're an idiot. It's going to take you X amount of hours. Stay where you are. Get back to the road. Can you see the road from where you are? Get back to the road. We're going to come and get you."
Exactly. It was that easy. But no, from Lucy's perspective, it was a life or death moment for Jay. If Jay did not listen to her, then Jay, I'm not too sure what's going to happen to you. That's the way she kind of pull it across. Now that doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you've spoken to Jay around the same time Brad spoke to Jay, and Brad claimed he had no concerns. Jay was okay. He started to walk off road. I don't know why Brad allowed him to walk off road. I don't know why Brad didn't say to him, "Jay, stop walking off road, mate. We're in a cab. We're coming. I'm calling a cab now, mate. I've sent you a cab, mate." Like, I don't know why Ayub didn't call him a cab when he was ready to leave the Airbnb. Ayub just allowed him to walk and said, "Listen, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants to do." So you didn't offer to call him a cab.
Come and get you. We'll just call you. We'll shout out and window whatever, but just you're not walking any further. That's stupid. It's not safe. It's not safe for you to do it. Stay where you are. Don't walk any further. Your battery's dead. If you get lost, you're saying you need a drink, you're thirsty, whatever, you've got fucking drinks. So you got no phone, no water, and you could get lost. So fucking stay where you are, and I'm coming to get you.
Exactly.
I'm coming to get you. I don't understand, and I can't make it make sense, that Lucy's thought process is instead to go to law enforcement to report him missing.
Even then, when you actually listen to her statement, she is more or less blaming Jay again. All of their statements are blaming Jay. Jay done this. Jay didn't listen. Jay wanted to go off. Jay, if you don't listen to me now and turn back and go back to the Airbnb, blah, blah, blah. But no, Jay didn't listen. Jay just went off and walked in the ravine and fell off a cliff. It's all Jay. They're all blaming Jay. Every single story is blaming Jay.
Thinking that is going to make any difference. Thinking
Exactly. When Jay allegedly called you and said he was cut by a cactus and lying in a ditch, you could have jumped in a cab and went directly to him. How many times do I have to reiterate this? But no, you decided to jump in a cab and go to the police station and then file a missing persons report. He wasn't even missing. As far as we know, he was embarking on an 11-hour walk. But as far as you told us, he was cut by a cactus lying in a ditch. Now, what ditch was he lying in? And if he was lying in that ditch, why don't you tell him just to chill? Like Harsh Reality saying, chill, we're going to come and get you. But you decided to file a missing persons report and then set up a GoFundMe for 30K. And we're supposed to believe that this guy just wandered off into the mountains.
Simultaneously, she is stating that the first 24, 48 hours is the most important time when someone goes missing. It makes me almost believe that, did the call happen? Now, I'm sure that the phone situation, we don't know whether the phone was found. There's rumours that the phone was lost, the phone was wiped or whatever. But law enforcement, has that fully been investigated, that them calls actually took place? Do we know that...
What we had is Isla saying that she looked at Brad's call log and said that there was calls between him and Jay. She never confirmed what time those calls were. And what's even worse is she couldn't even confirm the Snapchat video that he claimed he had with Jay.
Do we know that Jay had his phone? Was there a situation fabricated where this call was made to the phone, but Jay didn't have the phone? I can't work this specific piece of information out. I can't work out in what world someone is going to have a conversation with their friend. The friend tells them they're going on an 11-hour hike back to them. They do nothing by means of, we're going to come and get you. And instead, they then go to police and report them missing.
Make it make sense.
I can't get it because they're not missing. And then they criticize law enforcement for not doing anything.
Exactly. This goes to show you how naive and gullible these people really are.
Anybody knows that law enforcement are not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything when someone isn't in effect missing, because he's embarking on a journey that from point of leaving to point of getting to where he's going, there is an 11-hour period.
Exactly.
So he could have turned up. He could have been...
Exactly. And this is again where they dug themselves a hole and the domino effect of lies began.
So for you to have got off that call and been in a mindset, I'm going to the police, you must have worried for Jay's safety.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, then why did you not do anything about it?
Exactly.
Make that make sense.
Why didn't Brad do anything about it? Why didn't Brandon do anything about it? Why didn't Ayab do anything about it? Because you can't tell me you didn't speak to all of them. You spoke to everyone. You spoke to Brandon, you spoke to Brad, you spoke to Ayab. If your friend's missing, allegedly, then you're going to speak to everyone to see if they've spoke to him, to know if they know where he is. Can you help me find him? You spoke to everyone. And none of you guys actually helped to find him. In fact, it's claimed by Ayab that you guys linked up 13 hours after Jay had gone missing, and you was out looking for Jay in the middle of the night, screaming, Jay, Jay, in the mountain. Of course, at that point, the police ain't going to be doing anything, because as Harsh Realities confirms, he's on an 11-hour walk. It's only been 11 to 12 hours at this point, and you're on the side of the mountain screaming, Jay, Jay, trying to look for him whilst it's pitch black outside. I don't understand why you would have been doing that instead of jumping in a cab when he called you and driving to him, unless you're making it look like you were out looking for him. The night where we had the screenshot location of someone being there at 1:50 a.m. in the morning. That correlates with what Ayab said. But why would you be out looking for him at that point? Why? Or was you planting the screenshots at that point? Was you all at the Airbnb taking the pictures of the red blanket to make it look like that was Jay? Because it seems that way, because there's no proof of life. There's no proof of Jay being in the Masker village whatsoever, other than his screenshot location and that fabricated picture of the red blanket.
One is obviously so concerned with their safety, they automatically think, I'm getting off this phone, I'm going to go and report him missing to law enforcement. Again, this to me is indicative of involving law enforcement because you feel that that's going to make you more credible.
Facts.
It's going to make you seem like you're innocent of any wrongdoing because you've gone to law enforcement.
Facts.
When I feel that the question should be, why did you contact law enforcement? Why did you just not do something yourself? If you know other people in the area, you have access to cars, you have access to people, or you know these people who is apparently with, why wasn't more done with the group in order to find Jay?
Exactly.
That's what I can't make heads and a tail of. I can't make heads and a tail of it. Will someone try and explain that to me? Because to me, the more I think about it, the more I go over it in my mind, I almost feel that Lucy went to law enforcement to try and make the situation seem more credible.
Facts.
And the more I think about that, the more the entire situation doesn't seem credible. And I'm leaning to the point that I don't believe that Jay did indeed embark on any walk whatsoever. I just don't believe it. I don't.
Allegedly, this is a guy that won't even walk down the road to go and get his hair done at the barber's. However, whilst dehydrated with no water, he was willing to walk an 11-hour walk. That makes no sense.
Feel that there's enough evidence and proof to back up any of those statements. And in fact, some of the activity that went on around the situation would suggest otherwise, suggest that people actively did things in order to try and push a story, like the blanket photo. Again, it's not evidentiary in terms of, yes, Jay was there. It's not. All of the things that were done and all of the things that were said, they're not proof of him being anywhere.
Exactly.
They are evidence of people doing things and formulating a story and trying to use these elements to back up that story.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to Harsh Reality's channel. He's got some interesting content on there, and what he just said there was bang on the money. Make sure we hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel if we are new. Turn the notification bells on. We've got so much more to come, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.